And we're live.
Perfect.
Super. Hello, everybody. Hello, Kevin. Kevin is the first one. Wants to get to know us. Who else have we got in? Reveal yourselves. If you want. Frigid Ottawa. Jesus, that sounds...
Oh, wow. Yeah.
In all places.
No, cool. Do you want to start, Si?
Yeah, sure.
Like that, yeah.
I'll get the presentation underway, and I can start talking. Good. Where's my function button? There. Hello, everybody. Gareth, just will you be my kind of eyes, because I'm on a laptop and I can't see. I don't have visibility on like the chat or people are saying anything. If you just let me know if there's any. All I can see basically is PowerPoint, so just let me know if there's something odd, whatever. Hope everybody can see that first slide. Good. Welcome, everybody. My name is Simon North, and I'm the partner manager at T3K. And with me, I have Gareth. Gareth, if you want to say hello.
Yep. Good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, depending on where you are. Yeah, I'm Gareth Balance. I'm product manager here at T3K, and yeah, we're super happy for you to join us, and hopefully we can show you some cool stuff and explain how we can hopefully help with our AI technology. So.
Absolutely, yeah. So, I was kind of joking with Megan a while ago, saying that T3K hasn't made it in the States or Canada yet. So a lot of you probably, don't know us or haven't heard of us before. We're kind of so far mainly have kind of had most of our success in Europe and a little bit in kind of Asia now, more and more. But the States has so far remained a little bit elusive to us. We've a couple of customers, some ICAC units around the place, but that mainstream thing hasn't happened yet. And hopefully this webinar, this event will be the start of that ball getting rolling. So I guess a bit about the company and what we do. So T3K has been around in its current form as kind of a mainly software digital forensics solutions provider since about 2015 or 16. Gareth, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yep.
And the reason why I say that is because in a previous lifetime, a previous iteration, as a company, we were more focused on providing like expert witness work and taking on casework from authorities in Germany, Austria, where we're based, in Vienna or Switzerland, places, around us. So then it kind of morphed and developed into what we are now, which is primarily, a software company, concentrating mainly on exactly what you're going to see today, which is solutions for basically utilizing AI to help people in their digital investigations and to help them screen data, media data specifically, a lot faster and a lot kind of smarter. So you're not, manually scrolling as much and getting focused results that will help you in your investigation and help you with your backlog. So essentially, we have two main products as T3K, right? On the one hand, we have Leap, which is a standalone product, kind of off-the-shelf product focused mainly on analyzing smartphone extractions from Celebrite, Oxygen, and all the other third-party extraction toolkits. And the idea with Leap is that, you feed your extraction into Leap, and within minutes, depending on the size of the extraction, obviously, but within minutes, you'll have kind of a focused PDF report with all of the detections of the illicit media that you're looking for, or that you've set it up using our AI classifiers to look for. So essentially to help you in your, say, for example, you have somebody in custody and you need further justification for more questioning, a house search, things like that. Leap can get you that evidence, that justification in minutes, simply by saying, right, well, I want to look for extremism material on this guy's phone, or I want to see if there's any child sexual abuse material, or a combination of any of these things. That's what Leap essentially allows you to do. Core, on the other hand, Core is an API only, so different to Leap, which has a GUI which you can click around. It's it's designed to be have a front end. Core is an API only, designed more to be plugged into or kind of attached onto an existing review tool, a forensic review tool. Let's say things like Nuix, Workstation, Magnet, Griffi, or any other, even down to things like Microsoft Power BI, if that's what you use. I'll get into the integrations later a bit, but Core essentially allows you to have all of the power and essentially the breadth of all of our different classifiers that we offer, our AI classifiers, in your existing toolkit. So it means you don't have to, move outside that toolkit or change your workflow, or have extra steps in your investigations. You're in the ecosystem that you're used to, but you have all of this extra added focused analysis power at your fingertips, essentially, with Core. And both Core and Leap are powered by our same media analysis engine. So they both run on the same underlying engine. Okay. This next slide kind of looks a bit busy, but I'll try and explain it to the best of my ability. So basically, going from left to right, these are the technologies and different things that you can do with our products, basically, right? So starting from the left, hash value comparison and photo DNA, obviously, not developed by T3K, but they're, let's say, industry standards. And of course, this absolutely, they need to be part of any forensic investigation. So that's why they're in there, in all of our products, Leap and Core. Where we kind of start to come in and add our T3K flair, so to speak, is the next couple of items. So Spark, which stands for spatial pattern recognition. And this is pretty cool. This essentially allows you to upload any 2D reference pattern, logo, insignia, picture of a tattoo, maybe even something like, you can see there actually like a section of a wallpaper pattern. So any logo, pattern, insignia that you need to find, you can upload it into Leap or Core, and then with that one reference image, you can search across your whole data set and find that pattern. It's a one-to-one match. So you need to be looking for exactly that version of the logo. Let's say, if you have different versions of the same logo, we always use the example of Adidas with the three stripes, and then you have the kind of leaf one for the Adidas Originals. Spark won't find both. With one, you would need to upload them separately as different patterns. OCR, I probably don't need to go into that too much, but just to note that Leap and Core offer optical character recognition in Latin alphabet, Cyrillic, and Arabic. We have our age and gender classifier. So what this does is, if it's switched on, it will essentially look for visible children's faces in images and videos. And if it spots visible children's faces, it will estimate their age and gender. And there's a kind of a tolerance of plus or minus about 2 years. So it's rather accurate. It's definitely one of the more accurate ones available on the market at this point in time. We offer facial recognition. So similar to the pattern recognition, this involves just simply uploading a reference image or images into the system. Switch that option on, and away you go. You will find that face or faces in your results once the analysis has completed. We offer a number of different object recognition classes, ranging from things like documents, screenshots, maps, so on and so forth. We have the next three are kind of our newer technologies. So I'll try and explain them again to the best of my ability. Our meta classifier technology. So essentially what this is we as T3K have the ability to, if, for example, I'll use the example of child sexual abuse material because that's what it's currently being used for and with. We have developed a method to essentially train a classifier based on not the actual images themselves. We've developed a script that we would send to the authority. And what that script does is it encodes the authority's data, their images and videos, into abstractions of that media. So mathematical strings, encodings, right? And using those encodings, we can then train classifiers to find that specific content. So essentially, to put it kind of in layman's terms, we can train ultra laser focused, in this case, CSAM classifiers, because we're able to get not the material, but the encodings of the material. So no illegal data transfer is happening or needs to happen, or the images can't, or the strings can't be turned back into the images ever, right? So it's completely safe to be sending those over a network. But we are then able to use that to essentially train our classifier to find only that specific type of material. Okay, so that's from our point of view, that's super powerful. And I'm just using an example of CSAM because that's currently what it's being used for. But there are obviously we can if there's a need with a customer, we can discuss other avenues with that. And then the final two are image-to-image and text-to-image searching. These two are currently only available in the Core API. They're not available in Leap just yet. They will be at a future date, but not right now. And the easiest way to describe this is basically, it's like having the ability to Google search your entire data set, right? So imagine if you're, say, a Nuix user, you can essentially, once Core has processed your case and done all its work, you can then select the text to image and image to image search and either type in whatever, girl riding a bicycle, man wearing a red shirt, soldier talking to civilians, police arresting whoever, and pretty almost instantaneously you will have the results ranked in terms of similarity. Like I was at the image to image, if you have a reference image that you want to find, for example, a girl riding a bike or whatever it might be, you can upload that image as a reference, give it to Core, and Core will find you similar images. So super powerful, and we'll show you kind of a live demo of this later on. So, time for our first poll, I think. Gareth, if you want to,
I will do. Yeah, honors. Yeah. So we created a few polls. If you guys don't mind, having a look at those, and we'll just kind of launch them as and when we think it's kind of appropriate in terms of the presentation. So there's a bit more presentation, and then we're going to show you some cool stuff live. I'm going to show you some integrations into some tools like Simon mentioned, and Simon's going to show you this interactive text to image and image to image as well. But so let me launch the first poll, which is, let's check. Hopefully this is working. It's just to kind of, if you don't mind, obviously get a flavor of, what your primary use cases are, or what sort of takes up most of your time, and what you work on the most at the moment. And that can obviously then sort of influence the bits that maybe we concentrate on talking about as we go through. So
exactly, yeah.
Hopefully that's working for everybody. But I can see people filling it in. Brilliant. Okay.
Super. Great. So while people are doing that, I'll just run through these. So these are pretty self-explanatory. These, the items you see here on the screen, these are, where our technology is used and can be used, right? So as a company, and we have a massive, huge focus on combating and fighting child sexual abuse. It's been our priority for a while now, and we more and more now, especially in Europe, as we're getting more widely known and more popular, and more agencies and authorities are starting to use us. It's simply a fact that we offer one of the best CSAM classifiers on the market. There's no way around it. So that's a huge focus for us, and we're constantly trying to and striving to improve it however we can, in close cooperation with the people who are actually having to investigate this stuff. Terrorism, extremism, another kind of large focus, and we have a kind of a add-on toolkit that we'll go into very shortly, a bit later on. Organized crime, border control, that specific area, I guess you could say that that's kind of the origins story of T3K back in 2015 or so. That's kind of how we came to be in our current form as such. Essentially, we developed Leap, our other tool, for analyzing smartphones at borders. Similarly, human trafficking bit. Identification, so we are in use at a couple of airports, things like that, with our passport classifier, our facial recognition, and more now as we add on not only law enforcement but private businesses as well. We're seeing more and more use cases for things like financial crime and general eDiscovery, especially now with the integration into Nuix. Good. So we're going to be mainly concentrating on Core today, because it's kind of, let's say, our flagship product, and it offers the most functionality. However, it would be remiss of us not to mention Leap briefly, at least, because I understand that most of you are law enforcement, so there could be a fit for some of you. So Leap, as I said, it's a standalone product with a front end. It's server based, so it runs on a Linux server in the background, and then you're able to access it from whatever device over the network. So it's not like you have to be running Linux on your laptop or desktop that you're accessing it from. No, it's just the server. So we would help you with all the setup and kind of stuff. But what is it? It's essentially, as I said, it's an automated tool for super quick analysis of extractions from phones or other sources. So if you have things like folders of media, so images, videos, audio, if you have E01s, DD files, things like that, Leap can ingest all of those. So what makes up these reports that you get at the end, these PDF reports? So Leap analyzes the communication patterns. So who was the person calling? Where were they calling? When were they calling? Who were the first 5 after the phone was turned on? Who were the last 5 before the phone was powered down? What direction were they traveling in as they were using the phone? Yeah, all of these kind of screening questions that one might have. The meat of Leap, I guess, is the media classification. So yeah, you load in your extractions, and then you can essentially tell Leap what to look for. So there's a whole raft of different AI classifiers, things like CSAM, violence, military, extremism, documents, maps, screenshots, you name it. And we'll actually see a full list later on. But that's like the kind of, the flesh of Leap is the media classification part. Is to detect, are those things on the device? Are there images and videos with this illicit content on the device? And just to quickly mention that it was, from day one, it was kind of designed to be integrated pretty seamlessly into your workflow, right? Speaking of, here is a simplified workflow for Leap. So just to, I guess, make it abundantly clear that T3K or Leap, it doesn't do any of the extractions. You need to have things like Celebrite, Oxygen, MSAB, Grey Key. We ingest Grey Key extractions as well. So you need to have one of those toolkits, but I'm sure all/most of you do. And then essentially, once that's loaded in, you set up your analysis. What classifiers do you want? Leap has you can set up watch lists, keyword watch lists. You can select which faces you want to recognize, which patterns you want to analyze, the pattern recognition. And then you simply click start analysis, and then within minutes, you'll have the first report, either as a PDF or there's the HTML version as well, which you can go in and edit it to get rid of false positives. Maybe something is in the wrong category. And it's super nicely categorized. It's all nicely laid out, ready for you to use. So that's Leap. Good. Let's move on to the focus now. Just before I move on, are there any questions that anybody has, or any burning issues that anybody needs answered? Or are we all good?
I'm just looking at the chat. Okay, so I can answer that quick question actually quickly from Emery. There's is Core Linux based? Yes, it is. So basically, Core ideally has its own server essentially, based on Linux Ubuntu, So for example, we have people deploying core standalone server, and then it's feeding multiple different toolkits together. So for example, we can go into some detail about which toolkits, but as an example, like Griffi DI Pro or Nuix Workstation or similar, you could have multiple of these instances working from one single core server. So
we've got a question in the Q&A tab as well. I can bring it up for you real quick.
Sure.
Yeah. Interesting question, Michael. Okay. So in terms of it, so basically core doesn't essentially it's not accessing data from the internet basically. So it has no concept of, for example, like what would be a Facebook or something from Facebook, but you could absolutely use you could say, okay, use the keyword hand, and it would show you all pictures of hands basically from the ingested data in the platform that it's into. So for example, if you had a case in Workstation, in this case, because that's what the text to image exists in at the moment, you can process your case in Workstation, which has content that you've maybe collected from open source like Facebook or similar, and then you could absolutely keyword search it for hand, face. You could even be more specific and say, like hand from person wearing red t-shirt, or I don't know, it depends on how close up it is on the picture, but you could absolutely do that. But core is completely, it literally just, it takes the input and gives a response based on the classifiers and the technology that we've built into it. It doesn't have any sort of understanding of the source of the data. That's down to the platform that it's integrated into. Yeah, I think you can carry on, Si. I think we need to probably get through the presentation maybe in the next
we'll
minutes or so, and then we'll show some
quickly
stuff.
Move on. Yeah. Anyway, guys, I mean, this is all, I've kind of mentioned most of this already, but anyway, I'll just quickly go through this. Core, right? Core it's an API designed to be plugged into, the review platforms like we've mentioned, or even other ones. The thing about the integrations is we have some, and Gareth will show them to you, we have some kind of ones that are, let's say, fully or almost fully integrated. However, if you have a platform that isn't mentioned or listed, and it's based around a REST API, then Core can integrate most likely with that platform, right? And in addition, unlike Leap, Core has this text to image and image to image searching. And the newest and coolest, if the image to image and text to image isn't enough, but now, as of a couple of weeks ago, Core can transcribe audio and video in 100 different languages. So keep that in mind as Gareth is showing you, and he'll show you something really cool in the next couple of minutes. Quick overview of the integration of Core. So essentially, Core sits on a server somewhere on your network, hooked up to the review platform. So the media objects are sent to Core. These encodings are generated during the Core processing. They're sent back to the review platform in the form of a JSON payload, and then the enrichments, the custom metadata is appended to these results, and they're displayed in the review platform. And so why Core generates these encodings during the processing is to also allow you to do this natural language searching, the text to image and image to image searching once the processing has finished.
I think we can do another poll now as well, if people are up for that. All right, here we go. So this is
thumbs away.
Yeah, hopefully this one's coming. Thanks so much for the answers. Actually, interestingly, it seems it's kind of most people are looking into CSAM and fraud investigations. Those are the two winners on the last poll. So very interesting.
Great.
And then the next poll, again, it's just to give us an idea of what the primary tools that you use, because we can obviously mention some of the ones that we have already integrated into. But for us, it'd be very interesting to know, if there's some others that, we need to look into as well, or we should concentrate on. So.
Great.
So carry on. Yep.
Super. So in terms of the integrations, as I said, our integration into Nuix Workstation is probably the most fully fledged and fully featured. So that's kind of where, if you are a Nuix user, kind of you're in luck, because our almost full feature set is available. With Griffi, we're in talks currently. The talks are progressing to offer this natural language searching, the image to image and text to image, in CS Ops and CS Enterprise only. It won't be available in DI Pro, but those talks are ongoing.
But the full set of classifiers and some other things
Yes,
are already in there as a plugin.
Absolutely,
so.
they're absolutely. And the same with Magnet Automate and Axiom. The full set of classifiers are in there, but the natural language searching is not. Okay. Yeah, some of the supported classifiers, as I said, extremism, military. We have an NSFW classifier, which is probably not so much of interest for law enforcement, but for private enterprise wanting to scan their networks. CSAM, obviously, and then kind of more general things, maps, screenshots, documents, handwritten documents, paper money, things like the narcotics, facial recognition. And just to note as well that we do, only in close cooperation with your agency or authority, we offer the option of custom classifiers as well. So if you're looking for, I don't know, if you want a classifier for red shipping containers, then we can look into that for you, for example. CSAM, cool. I'll go through this very quickly. Essentially, we employ a kind of dual approach to detecting CSAM. We kind of meld together the more conventional, or don't want to say classical, but the more conventional object detection approach. So you can see here in the table, are there naked genitals? Is the child completely naked? Is it in underwear? And is there a visible child's face? We're also then combining that approach with what I mentioned earlier about meta classifier technology. So this is a classifier that's been trained only on CSAM, on actual acts of CSAM. So it knows what CSAM is, it knows how to identify it. And this has a number of benefits. I guess the first is that the true positive rate is over 90% with FPs under 5. And also that essentially we, unlike a lot of other suppliers or solution providers, can detect that first generation or user generated content that isn't in hash lists, right? So due to the fact that our CSAM classifier knows what CSAM is, it's not depending on, is it known, is it unknown? It doesn't care. It just wants to identify CSAM. Okay. And that's not to say that we encourage everyone to combine these approaches, have our CSAM classifier and also, use your photo DNA, use your Project Vic hash list to make sure you get the absolute most, right? But it's been proven time and time again with different agencies in the past, couple of months, year or so, that this approach, it works and it's getting people results. We had a customer a while ago who they were using a competitor's CSAM classifier, and then they kind of did some A/B testing with Core, and they found with the competitors 400 images, and with Core 4,000. So that's a factor 10 increase. And they are our newest customer.
I think the key thing with using the classifier in combination with other things is to find the stuff that simply isn't in your hash repository, or it's either because it's been modified to such an extent that it's not matched anymore, or it's just too new. Basically, it's just some kind of first generation content, and that's the idea. Is that we try to the classifier, it looks at it like an eye, basically. Obviously, it's not as good as a human. It's not perfect. It will not find you all the CSAM in a case, and you'll get some false positives, as we mentioned. But the idea is that combining these approaches, it will find first generation content, because it has no, it doesn't matter to it, basically. If it thinks that it's CSAM, it's going to categorize it as such. And you're going to get, hopefully, quicker victim ID, and you're going to get basically this first gen content surfaced quicker than you would be, basically. I guess standard approach is screen it for known content. At least then you've got the case is positive, but then you've got to go through the rest to see if there's anything that isn't in the hash set, or there's an unknown victim in there, or some kind of first gen stuff. So that's really I think is a big issue in these investigations, and that's something we really want to try and help with offering this kind of classifier technology.
Okay, Gareth, if you just want to launch the final poll, and then I'll fly through these couple of next examples.
Yep, we'll do. I would say maybe with 5 more minutes, or not even 3 minutes, maybe, and then we'll do some actual sort of hands-on. Okay, good. So the last poll, this one is basically just to sort of gauge, because you've probably realized by now, like the primary focus of what we offer and what we do is analyzing media content, so images, videos, and audio files. This is our kind of focus area, and this is something that we know, and I know from my experience of previously having been a digital forensic investigator with the police, that this is a huge time sink and a massive issue, especially with CSAM cases where you just can spend days and weeks trawling through media content. We want to try and help make this better, try and make it more and more intelligent and quicker. So just interesting to gauge. It looks like, so far the results coming in, it's very important for most people.
Okay, good.
Thank God, because
that's good news for us.
Basically what we do.
We can just log off now. Good. Right. So I'll just keep talking while people are doing that. So guys, these next couple of slides, they're just examples of what the results could look like in your cases, right? So it's basically just to give a flavor of the type of things that our technology is classifying, right? So age and gender, self-explanatory. The facial recognition, again, even though you see, I always like this example of with the travel card. That's our CEO, by the way, Felix. It's shadow, it's at an angle, but it's still managing to pick up the face, and even above, he's wearing his glasses, it still knows it's him, or still recognizes him. ID cards, motor vehicles, the whole kind of concept of motor vehicles, right? So not just cars, but trucks, buses, tractors, license plates, the broad spectrum of anything that could fall under the idea of motor vehicles. Extremism content. So you can see here, it can be Islamic. There's some right-wing stuff in there. You can see, which I also like, the one kind of on the bottom row in the center, this kind of propaganda material. There's some war crime stuff in there. Military, again, the whole broad concept of military weapons, people in uniform, tanks, naval stuff, Air Force stuff, insignia. Speaking then of extremism, I just want to very briefly mention we have an add-on that we've developed in-house for Leap and Core. We call it our extremism desk. And essentially what this is, it was developed in cooperation with some academics here in Vienna from the University of Vienna. And it's essentially, we've hashed 2.3 terabytes of media, images, videos, audios, and documents of Salafi jihadist stuff. And we've hashed that so you can essentially use all of that classified media as hashes, as a watch list in your investigations. We have not just the hashes, but also a full database of logos, so 170 plus logos from extremist groups and all the kind of the propaganda houses that they have, and 150 words in both Arabic and English that are, the 150 most common words and phrases that are associated with these groups in Arabic, and kind of transcribed into English as they would be, texted around in the Telegram groups, etc., etc. So that's available as an add-on, and it's got a couple of people using that so far, and they're super happy with it. Violence and weapons, again, the whole idea of violence and weapons. So, people with injuries, bloodied people, weapons, parts of weapons, fights, riots, hooliganism, that whole thing. Drugs and narcotics, plants, pills, people selling drugs, powders, quite a broad range of things again. Documents, money, and receipts. The pattern and logo detection. So essentially, you don't see any of these green lines, but that's what's happening in the background. It's looking for these key points in the media content, and that's how you get back the results, if it's a good match or not. OCR, again, it's available. It works. And the text to image and image to image. So rather than me blabbering on, let me stop the presentation here and just show you. I think that's probably a better option, I would say. So how do I?
So we've got like just a basic web UI to demonstrate the text to image and image to image, and it works against so around 1.8 million pictures that have been scraped from the internet. So this is not in any way online. It's it's working on an offline repository, but just to show you how this works in theory, and then I can also quickly show you in Nuix Workstation as an example, how this would work as a case. But I think this is just to sort of reinforce the idea of how this is working. So it's essentially a form of prompt engineering. So really, it's been trained on a huge repository of text and image pairs, and there's two machine learning models in the background running in parallel, and the machine basically then can match natural language text. It has to be in English for the best results, and it understands these concepts and can then match that with the data in your case. So you can actually get quite specific, and obviously it's a similarity match. So if you look for something that doesn't exist in your case, it gets you the closest thing that it thinks is to the query that you've given it. And we can also show you in a second, you can then get even more complicated when you get used to it, and you can use some kind of like arithmetic with it. So you can sort of say, well, I'm looking for one thing, but I don't want to find it. So for example, I'm looking for, we'll do this in a minute, the word apple, and it'll give you pictures of apples. But actually what you're really interested in is the company Apple. Then we can use some arithmetic to say, well, I want apple, but I don't want the fruit, basically. And then that will specify the search even more precisely. So you can get quite complicated. And some of the classifiers that we have, which as a user, you just see it as a static classifier, like a bookmark that appears. They're actually using some of this text prompt engineering rather than being trained on 10,000 pictures of a gun, for example, and looking for specifically a gun. We can train a classifier using prompt engineering and look for broader concepts. And that's how we can find things like extremism content, military content, violence, because these things are very, if I say to you, like, what's violence? It could be, pictures of weapons, pictures of people rioting, pictures of injuries. It's quite broad. And it's difficult to train a traditional classifier with this. With the prompt engineering, it's really easy, it's really quick, and we can create this kind of, constructs. So.
Yep.
So this is really one of the things that differentiates us, I guess, from other people offering or the solutions, quite a lot of solutions now in digital forensics, they offer some form of classification already. Most of these are object classifiers, so they're looking for specific object, whether that's, like I said, a gun or a map or a screenshot, and we do some of that. But then I think with the prompt engineering side, we can be either much more specific or much more broad, depending on what you need in terms of, my investigation involves extremism. We can basically use prompt engineering to say, okay, we're looking for essentially things relating to Islamist extremism, right-wing extremism, people in certain poses, people, with certain clothes on, that kind of thing, and we can describe it rather than trying to train sample data, which is typically difficult for those kind of use cases. So, and then obviously here we have just switched the image to image. This is an image to image similarity. You give it a sample image, it looks for similar images. You'll only ever get a score of, like you see, 0.98 there when the exactly the same picture is in the data set that we've searched for. So
with these scores, anything above, Garrett, 0.28, 0.3 is a
for
really...
for the text prompting, anything, the scores can seem quite low, but anything above 0.24, 0.25 is going to be very likely to be a positive match to what you're looking for. With the image to image, it's basically a defined sample that you're giving it, then the scores will typically be higher when you can see here, like up in the 0.7, 0.8, 0.9. But
great.
We can either do it now or afterwards. We can also invite you to offer, if you want to, search for anything. Basically, we can put it in there and look for stuff that's based on, I don't know, somebody's hobby or something that you've got in mind that you're interested to see if that works. We can, as long as it's in the 1.8 million pictures, we can look for it. But maybe that's interesting as part of the Q&A at the end. Let me just see. Okay, Emery has to leave. No problem. Thank you.
Thanks, Emery.
Good. Okay, I think now I'll show you some examples of how core has been integrated into forensic solutions. Simon shared a list already, and I've just looked at the poll, and poll's interesting. Well, it's I kind of expect, like, Axiom is obviously a big one, and I can't actually show you that live, but we can show you a video of how it works in the set, like live, basically. But I can't show you the actual platform. Griffey is one of our partners, which I thought maybe would be more people like using that for CSAM investigations. So I can show you that anyway, in case you're familiar with it. And then Nuix, nobody in the webinar is using that, but I'll show you because that's the one that's
interesting,
feature rich, basically. For the others, we are looking. So, for example, like Physical Analyzer, I expected this to be a high result, and we're looking at ways to integrate a script basically that could communicate with core, but we don't have that yet. And with FTK as well, we also don't have something yet, but it's interesting to see the results there. Let me just share my screen and show you this. Second. Hopefully this can be seen. Okay, can everybody see that?
Yep, looks good.
So here, this is an example of Nuix Workstation. If you're not familiar with Nuix, it's actually, for those of you using FTK, Nuix is a bit more focused on the eDiscovery, kind of GRC type world, the corporate world, I guess. But it's a similar idea where, like with FTK, you can basically process a huge amount of structured and unstructured data, and then obviously, review that as a case and actually, you can index everything, you can keyword search for it. And what we've added, the Nuix engine is renowned for being very powerful and capable of kind of processing almost any type data source or data type. And obviously, as a partnership with them, we've integrated the core API from T3K directly into the GUI of the workstation. So you can see this is just a small case that we have here. And once you've created your case in Nuix, basically, it's very, very easy to run the T3K analysis. I'll just choose, if I choose everything, we'll just be sat here watching some processing happening, but I'll just choose a few pictures here. And then all you need to do in Nuix is basically go to the scripts menu and say T3K. And what this is going to do now is, of the things that I selected, it makes an export of them to a shared location. So what you see here is we have Nuix running on a server here in the office at T3K in Vienna, and we also have another machine running Workstation, and they're on the same network, and they just can see the same shared storage. So all that's happening now is that Workstation is just exporting the files that you want to analyze to that shared storage, and then core is going to analyze them and send the results back, basically. And then you will see the results then tagged, or at least searchable in the workstation. So that was just 7 pictures, very, very easy, very quick. Obviously, it tells you basically how many it's processed, how many it's found matches in there, so some kind of detection, and how many it hasn't done. If there's any errors, you can see that in a log as well. So, but in terms of what this would look like, let's assume I did the whole case there. There's then basically a bunch of search macros here, which then categorizes everything very quickly. So, for example, if my cases relating to some kind of narcotics or organized crime type thing, then we could say, okay, I'm very interested in these detections for drug powder, drug plant, etc. And you can see here what kind of results we're getting. These pictures are from a real, these drug pictures are from a real historical case from a smartphone, actually. But you can see here how kind of like this is all one classifier, but by using the text prompts, we can be very like broad in the types of narcotic in this example that we can detect. So it doesn't matter if it's a powder or a pill or really what shape it is. We can describe to the system, we're looking for cocaine, we're looking for ecstasy, we're looking for fentanyl, we're looking for those kinds of, we're looking for paraphernalia, manufacturing equipment, and we describe it with text prompts. And we could also say, okay, but what we don't want is snow and flour, salt, sand, these kind of, palm trees, these kind of things that would be false positives. And we try then to build a classifier to be as specific as we can, doing it that way. Same way with, so if we look for, let's take these away, like military equipment we mentioned. So again, very, very broad and varied. But the idea is, instead of you having to, sort of go through some of this manually, is, like basically run the core analysis, get all these classifications up front, and then obviously concentrate on the things that are relevant to you for your investigation. But it gives you like a start, a head start already with these types of classifications. Things like passports we mentioned, screenshots. So there's really, depending on your use case, there's quite a lot of different things that could be useful here. Obviously, the age and gender estimation as well for children. And then we have the CSAM classifier. This is just false positives that we have in there, but this would be CSAM if there was CSAM in the case. And again, it's just trying to get you, to that first evidence, to get you to that first relevant, sort of media item as fast as possible, basically. And then if we go a bit further in here, we could also then say, because we've processed everything in T3K, this is where we could say, okay, I want to do some similar to what you just saw in the demo then, but in the actual products, we say, child in bedroom, add that as a keyword, and say, okay, show me all pictures of children in bedrooms, basically. So very easy. I can then basically select these things. I can create a bookmark from them, tag selection. I can send them to the workbench. So, and then same with the image to image. If I choose an image, I can do this from the case or from an external source. So I can choose one from my desktop here, for example, and say, okay, this is a picture of a specific hotel room that I know this hotel room is relevant for me because I know whatever, something happened there, victim was there, suspect was there, and I want to look for hotel rooms, but I want to, like you can see now, we've got different pictures of the hotel room with the same carpet, and it's matching now. Even you can just see a little portion of that one there. This is the same hotel, basically, but different rooms in the hotel. And then as we get further away, then we start to see just generic hotel rooms if they're in the case. So, and again, the idea is, this could be a particular scene that you've been given as part of your intel package, or it's come through on a warrant return or something like that, where you just want to see, okay, can I match that in the case that I've got quickly? And that's the idea behind it. Very similar, if I just minimize this and we go to GriffEye, if you're familiar with this, hopefully GriffEye is one of the leading tools to do CISO investigations. It was kind of really built for that. So it's very, very good at doing media analytics. And in a very similar way, you can see, so we run the core, it's just a plugin. So we have a customer, for example, Simon mentioned already, based in Europe, and they're running they've got 5 DI licenses, DI Pro licenses, so 5 different people in their team that run cases or work cases with DI Pro, and they've got one core server, and all 5 can basically process at the same time, and they get the bookmarks all running in the same time in the background, and each case then gets categorized based on, for them, they're really interested in CSAM, but you get all these types of detections. So very similar to what you saw in Nuix. I can just click through these now and look for things very, very quickly. So yeah, what we don't have yet in this tool is the image to image and the text-to-image natural language searching. That's something that we're in discussions with them about, but that requires a deeper integration. But as it is now, you can have the plugin. You can, like I said, you can run it. You could have one server in your department, in your team, in your building, and it can basically feed all these different standalone instances that you have of this software. And then, so I'm going through this quite quick because I know we're a bit tight on time now. But the last thing I would show is also back in Nuix is just a new thing we've added, which isn't fully sort of visible in all instances in Nuix yet, but it will be there soon. But this is the transcription piece. So this is really nice. We can transcribe audio from video and audio from audio files into 100 different languages, make them then searchable. So you could then search the transcripts, basically. An example here, we've got, so if I play this, hopefully this comes through. This is just a BBC News. Yeah. And you can see if I go down here, I have an audio metadata. And you can see now here, this is the transcribed text. So with time points.
Gareth, I can't hear the audio for some reason.
Okay. 1 second. Yeah, sorry, it's probably I shared my screen without acting it. But basically it's a BBC broadcast, a news broadcast, and you can see here all the transcribed audio, and this would then become fully searchable within the case. So the idea is that, you can not only search for, basically text in documents and other text-based content, you can search for it using the text to image and image to image in your media content, and you can search for audio hits from transcriptions. And this was in English, as you can see, but we do support a lot of languages for this. So, but this is, quickly, like this is just to show you how, the core engine is an API. It just sits on a server in the background in your infrastructure. It can also be deployed into the cloud infrastructure as well if you didn't want to have it on site. But as it is at the moment, our customers are using it on premise because of, the data they have is typically, a lot of CSAM and stuff like that. They don't want to basically put that externally from their organization at the moment, so they're running it on premise. But once you have it running, it just basically lives on its own in the background. You don't really need to worry about it. You just need to, leverage the functionality of it from the toolkit that it's integrated into. And I think the last thing we can show, Sai, is the video of the.
Sure.
I can do it, I think. Yeah, here. So this is just, like I said, I don't have, being completely honest, I wanted to show you this today, but my license expires for Automate, and I've just reached out to Magnet to renew it, but I didn't get it in time. So we'll show you the video of what this looks like, but it's the same idea as what you saw in Griffi. It's basically, we're using Automate to essentially orchestrate the core part as a workflow. And what happens is, in Automate, we create a case, it creates an axiom, it processes for this case, a forensic image in axiom with whatever settings that you want. The axiom case is then created, and automatically things are exported, sent to core, and then the detections are injected back into the case as tags, essentially. So you'll see this happening in a second now. So again, like what you would get when if you give that to your investigator as an axiom portable case, or you're looking at it yourself in axiom, when you open the case, you'll have all these pre-categorized things from core automatically, so that you can jump to them straight away. And I know that Axiom has AI classifiers in there, and this is, some of them will be overlapping for sure, but some of the things that we do, they definitely do not have. Age and gender estimation, for example, the extremism type detection, and basically we have some things that their classifiers aren't trained on, essentially. So. But you can see here, hopefully, how this is working. So we just then looked at the custom tags that were from core. And again, this is just going through some examples of narcotics and various other things. But the idea is, again, pre-screen your cases using core and get to those, interesting results quicker. And hopefully, especially with something like CSAM, try to minimize the amount of exposure that somebody has to have when they're trying to find a victim, a first-gen image or something like that. So. I was pretty quick, I think, but hopefully that all made sense. Do we have Megan? I don't know. Do we need to finish like on the dot now at 6, or do we have any time to have a quick Q&A or check anything else?
We've got time. We've got a couple of minutes for Q&A. I haven't seen anything new come into the Q&A tab as yet.
Okay, yeah.
So if anybody has questions, please post them in the Q&A tab.
Yeah, please. Like, if there's anything else we can give you, we can also maybe in the handouts side we can add the specification, the core hardware specification document in there. But yeah, we've added some handouts just to give some ideas of like what we've covered basically, and what we can do. And yeah, if there's any questions, we're more than happy to go into any detail about anything else or show you anything different, or we can bring up that demo again and query some other interesting queries for media content if you want to see it doing that. That looks like everyone's gone quiet. And yeah, thanks so much for the polls. This is super nice of you to fill those in, and it's interesting for us to see because we can really sort of see, okay, yeah, especially, you know, at least from the people in the webinar, it looks like, yeah, magnet axiom's a big one and celebrate physical analyzers a big one. I'd be interested if the people that have chosen other, I don't know if those people are still here, if you could just, one or two of you could mention what that other is. I'm just intrigued, in case it's something that we don't have on our radar at all, or something that I'm not aware of, but if that's possible. But maybe those people aren't here now. No, looks like we're not getting any more questions. Oh, sorry. Oh, okay, brilliant. Thanks, Kevin. Yeah, okay. Artifact IQ. Okay, yeah, that's the tool that used to be from Grayshift. Yeah, okay, no problem. I know that one. Okay, good.
So the core system requirements are in the handout section as well. And just to give you some context on what these are basically some documents we've produced about the different potential areas where core and leap can be used. So they're like kind of done by investigation type. Let's say there's one on detecting military equipment. There's one specifically for CSAM. There's one on narcotics. There's one on terrorism and violent extremist content, or TVEC as we call it internally here. There's a document about that kind of goes into what specific classifiers we offer, the classifier categories. We have one there on detecting military and violence and police content as well, and the core system requirements, if anyone should be interested in those. Just to mention as well, like the actual requirements for core, they're not wacky or, you know, completely unattainable. I think if you take a look at the requirements, they're quite modest, I would say.
Perfect. Yeah, I think we're at the end. So yeah, thanks everybody for coming. Super nice of you to listen to me and Simon for an hour. So hopefully some of it was useful or interesting. And yeah, please reach out if you want any more info, or we can take, you know, go deeper or further with anybody. That's not a problem at all. So super. And yeah, thanks so much, Megan and Cyber Social Hub, for hosting us and inviting us to do this. It's really well organized and worked really well, I think. So
yeah, super smooth.
Thank you both for the great presentation. Everybody, thanks for attending, and have a great rest of your day and evening.
Thanks, everyone.
Take care. Thank you.
See ya.